Have you ever stopped to think about how much of the world's information is just words? Emails, social media posts, customer reviews, reports. It's this huge, messy ocean of data. But what if we could teach a machine to read all of it, to actually understand it, analyze it, and pull out these incredible insights? Well, today, we're diving deep into the world of text analytics, a technology that really burst onto the scene in a very public and, honestly, a very surprising way.
I mean, it's the big question, right? Human language is just packed with nuance, with sarcasm, with context. It feels so uniquely human. For the longest time, getting a computer to really get it felt like pure science fiction.
But then, back in 2011, something changed. A machine came along that didn't just understand language in some basic, clunky way.
It used that understanding to absolutely dominate the most famous quiz show on the planet. It went up against the two greatest human champions ever, Ken Jennings and Brad Rutter, and it won. That machine was, of course, IBM's Watson.
Okay, so let's get into it. How in the world did Watson pull this off? It wasn't just a fancy search engine. No, this was a completely different way of thinking about questions and answers.
So this right here is basically Watson's brain on paper. It's called the Deep QA architecture. And yeah, I know it looks like a plate of spaghetti, but don't worry, we are not going to go through every single box here. The main thing you need to get is that this isn't a simple step-by-step process. It's a system built for what's called massive parallel thinking, basically generating and testing hundreds of ideas all at the exact same time. And we're going to break that down right now. Let's make this simple. So first, Watson rips into the question, deconstructing the grammar to figure out what's really being asked. Then, and this is the crazy part, it generates hundreds of possible answers, or hypotheses, all at once. For every single one of those, it dives into its library, we're talking 200 million pages of content, and starts digging for evidence. And finally, it pulls all that proof together, gives each potential answer a confidence score, and picks the winner. And here is the absolute kicker, the speed. Watson did that entire unbelievably complex process and buzzed in with an answer in just 3 seconds, on average. That's faster than the human champs could even finish reading the clue. Just wow. So here's the thing. Watson's victory, it wasn't just some cool game show stunt. It was a massive public demonstration of a powerful set of technologies. Technologies designed to make sense of the 80% of all the data in the world that is unstructured text. The best way to think about this whole field is kind of like a house. As you can see, the foundation is made up of these core disciplines, like natural language processing, or NLP, which is what teaches computers about grammar, and machine learning, which helps them learn from data. The house itself, that's the whole field of text analytics. And then inside the house, you've got specific jobs, like text mining, which is kind of like going into the attic to search for hidden treasure. Now, people throw these two terms around a lot, sometimes using them to mean the same thing, but there's actually a really important difference. Think of it this way. Text analytics is the whole shebang, the entire process of getting value out of text. Text mining is a specific, super important part of that process. It's the discovery phase, where you're digging around to find branding patterns, things you didn't even know you should be looking for.
So to do any of this stuff, computers have to simplify our messy language. One of the most basic ways they do this is called stemming. It just chops words down to their root form. So words like running, ran, and runner all just become run. It helps the machine see that they're all related. Another key trick is getting rid of what we call stop words. These are all those super common filler words like the, a, is, and. By just filtering them out, the analytics engine can focus on the words that actually carry the important meaning in a sentence.
Okay, so that's enough definitions. Beyond the game shows, where is this technology actually being used? Let's check out a couple of really powerful, real-world examples. So take a company like Kodak. They're sitting on this absolute mountain of almost 20,000 patents. Trying to analyze that by hand? Forget it. It's impossible. But with text mining, they can suddenly start asking it questions like, hey, what are our competitors working on? Or who are the star inventors we should try to hire? Or even, is somebody ripping off our ideas? It completely transforms that dusty old archive from a legal shield into a dynamic strategic weapon. And this ability to find hidden patterns in language, well, it has uses that go way beyond the corporate world. It can be used in some really high-stakes situations to find signals that a human being might just miss. Okay, so this diagram shows an automated loop for detecting deception. It kicks off when law enforcement gets a written statement. The software then goes in and extracts all these key linguistic cues. We're talking things like how often someone uses certain pronouns or verbs that research shows are linked to lying. It turns those cues into numbers, feeds them into a model, and trains it to spot the telltale patterns of a lie. And how well does it actually work? Well, human judges get it right about 54% of the time, which is basically a coin flip. But neural networks, trained just on the text, they can hit an accuracy of around 73%. That means these machines can spot lies in text nearly 20% more accurately than human experts. That's a huge deal for fields from law enforcement all the way to insurance claims. Now, imagine taking that same kind of analysis, but instead of applying it to one single statement, you apply it to millions of voices all at once. Well, that's the big idea behind sentiment analysis.
And this is what that looks like in the real world. So imagine you're a brand manager. This dashboard is basically your command center. It's constantly pulling in conversations from social media, and it shows you instantly, are people talking about us more than our competitor? What product features are they complaining about? And the big one, is the overall feeling out there positive or negative? It's like having a global focus group that literally never sleeps.
Okay, let's step back even further. These same techniques are absolutely essential for making sense of the biggest collection of text in human history, the entire World Wide Web. And web mining breaks this massive challenge down into three main jobs.
So, first up, you have content mining. That's all about understanding the stuff on the pages, the text, the images. Then you have structure mining, which looks at the web of links between pages to figure out which sites are the most important or authoritative. And third, you have usage mining, which is all about tracking our clicks to understand how we actually move around the web.
Now, check this out. This is a brilliant example of that from Allegro, a huge online marketplace. They used a technique called social network analysis. Usually, you'd use that to map friendships between people. But Allegro did something really clever. They used it to map the relationships between products based on what people clicked on and bought together. And this revealed all these hidden connections, like people who buy certain spices also tend to buy specific kinds of nuts, connections that were completely invisible before.
And the result of this? By turning those hidden patterns into personalized recommendations, they increased their click-through rates by over 500%. I mean, that is just a staggering improvement. And it all came from understanding the secret language of user clicks.
So, from winning a game show to revolutionizing how we shop online, it's clear that teaching machines how to read has already profoundly changed our world. But this whole journey we've just talked about, from Watson all the way to today, it's really just been about comprehension. The next great frontier is creation. And that leaves us with this truly fascinating question on the screen. Now that our machines can read our words, what will we ask them to write for our future?